and in the local library there, and I could not find much local history, which was very surprising to me. A little bit, probably more available on the internet than you can find in that little library. But I did find a journal that had been typed by hand and bound loosely, and it was an account of some woman who had lived in this valley for many, many years, and a recollection of all the people that she had known and all the activities that had happened here in Peachtree Valley. I think her memories stopped about 1935 or something like that. It was quite a while back. I spent probably 15 or 20 minutes kind of carefully reading through that journal. I kind of wish I had a copy of it. I'm sure it's probably the only one available. It did mention Benjamin Hames in several places. It never mentioned his father, John Hames, but it did mention Benjamin, and it looks like Benjamin, once again, perhaps the oldest grandchild of Thomas Jefferson Shadden, spent most of his life right around here. He considered himself a vaquero, a cowboy. And this is cowboy country. You feel like you're in some kind of a great western movie. So I've driven a few miles further out Peachtree Valley. It seems to go for quite a few miles. I've probably driven 6 or 8 at least, maybe more. I saw 2 or 3 old farmhouses, boarded up, nobody around, locked up, fenced up. No trespassing signs. So I don't know. I guess I need to go to Monterey and look at old maps or something to be able to find out precisely where Benjamin Hames had his place. I always kind of assumed that John Hames had spent his last days right at that big old white Spanish-style mansion built by Henry Miller, because I know that that was a place where people used to go to convalesce, and it made sense that he would be there. I talked to a person, emailed her actually, who knew about some of the early family history of Monterey County, and I asked her if there were any cemeteries out here in Peachtree, and she said no, there were not. And I was looking at old topographical maps of this area and found that there was one at one time, and I just suspected that maybe that's where John Hames was buried. She looked up the records and found out about that little cemetery. It was on a hillside, and one year during a heavy winter, that whole hillside turned into a big flood of mud and washed away, graves and all. And so nobody, I don't think, really knows exactly who was buried there, but I think that the headstones and the things that they could find remaining were moved into the cemetery in King City or Paso Robles. She wasn't quite sure which. Peachtree is so pretty today. I could go many, many more miles. As a matter of fact, someday I want to come back here and ride my bicycle up and down this valley road and look at all this beautiful, beautiful scenery. I think maybe in the spring when the wildflowers are out, you might see me back here, traveling the same old road that the Hames has traveled on. I'm at the intersection of Peachtree Road and Highway 192. It goes out to San Lucas to the west. This is purely conjecture on my part, but it's a good conjecture based on an old map. I believe that somewhere on this hillside at one time there was an old cemetery, and it was washed out during a rainstorm, and I believe that perhaps Uncle John Hames was buried there because this is where he died, at Peachtree. As you can see, Peachtree is a long, long valley, but this was part of the journey of not knowing, I guess. and trying to reconstruct, based on what I've been told, an old cemetery was here and washed away. And some of the bodies and the tombstones were identified and moved elsewhere, and some were just lost forever. So I am right at the corner of San Lucas, where Highway 25 goes into the Pinnacles and into Hollister. And as you can see, it's a deep, wide, long valley. Once again, that's Peachtree off in the distance there.